Welcome back to Mason Talks. So we are back in the midst of a Cleveland Browns head coaching search, and almost immediately, Kevin Stefanski is no longer the top available free agent coach on the market. No, it is now former Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, who was fired by the team today after nearly 2 decades, including a Super Bowl win and multiple AFC championship appearances with the team. John Harbaugh is now a free agent, and today I want to talk about why the Browns should do everything physically possible, everything in their power to make John Harbaugh the next head coach of this franchise. Now, it sounds crazy probably to most people outside of the Cleveland Browns sphere, but I genuinely think that this could be a landing spot for John Harbaugh. I think there's a ton of reasons why he would view this team as appealing. First and foremost, joining the Cleveland Browns, of course, would give him an opportunity to twice a year get back at his former team. Now, no doubt he's gonna, have respect and be, say all the right things about the Ravens and his time with the franchise. But it seems, at least from very early reporting, that there may have been a bit of tension in terms of this firing between the Ravens ownership group and Harbaugh. Diana Rossini reported that one of the key pressure points, as she called it, in this dismissal was that John Harbaugh was basically refusing to get rid of Todd Monken as his offensive coordinator. So I don't know if you necessarily could call this an ugly dismissal, an ugly parting of ways between Harbaugh and the Ravens. I know in their little letter to the fans, they said that it was a meeting that was at times challenging, I believe was the quote. So it seems like this may have been a bit of a tense breakup between John Harbaugh and the Ravens. And for somebody, in this emotional field of football coaching, what better opportunity to stick it to that former team than to be in their same division, playing them twice per year? And while, of course, that would be, good for Harbaugh in a sense, it would be fantastic for the Cleveland Browns. And I definitely want to say that I think it's interesting that the first report, before Harbaugh was even dismissed from the Ravens, the first Browns report that we saw today was that they were planning to interview Todd Monken for their head coach position. And, now that we know that Monken was such a splitting point, a pressure point, quote unquote, between the Ravens and Harbaugh, it's kind of interesting that the Browns wanted to be one of the first teams to have him in their building, talk with him, about jobs. And it almost leads one to wonder, could the Browns have maybe known a little bit about what was going on between the Ravens and Harbaugh and Todd Monken? So, if you can get Harbaugh and Monken and have that be your stepping stone after Kevin Stefanski, I mean, that's one of the biggest upgrades that one can even imagine. And people, there have been discussions over the last couple of days about which team is the best position for a head coach to want to go to, whether it be, the Giants or the Cardinals or the Browns. And people have been frequently putting the Browns towards the bottom of that list. But really? I mean, you have one of the best defenses in the league. You have the defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett, who just broke the single season sack record. You have talent all over the defense, including the likely Defensive Rookie of the Year, Carson Schlesinger. You still have Denzel Ward at the cornerback position. You have the 6th overall pick. Your offense, you just loaded with new young talent like Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin. Obviously, the 6th overall pick is probably going to be somebody on the offensive side of the ball. You would have liked to have a quarterback, but I mean, that 6th overall pick is still going to be appealing to somebody coming in and hoping to flip the script for this franchise. Like, when you talk about the job openings, how is this any less appealing than what the Arizona Cardinals are offering you? I mean, do you really have that much faith in Jackson Dart that you'd be willing to pass up on this Browns team that has far more pieces assembled towards a postseason caliber team than the New York Giants? I mean, I know there were some rumors out there that the Giants and Harbaugh have been in discussion for a long time, but like, why would you want to? What is the like? I mean, you have Jackson Dart, you have Neighbors. What you don't have a cornerstone like Myles Garrett. They're not the team that the Cleveland Browns are currently assembled. I mean, this is a Cleveland Browns team that, quite frankly, if we're not lying to ourselves, if a couple of plays go different, I mean, this is a team that would have been competing for the AFC North title with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders as their starters for most of the season. So you look at this team, the fact that the Browns are clearly doing their due diligence on Todd Monken already, the fact that this is a division rival who would face the Ravens multiple times per year, the fact that, this is a city, the Harbaughs growing up, John Harbaugh has talked about it before, he was a Browns fan growing up. He was a fan of Leroy Kelly. He was a fan of the Browns back in the glory days. He went to Miami of Ohio in college. I think they were both born in Toledo, or maybe the northwestern Ohio area. But like, this is a coach who has legitimate ties to the area, legitimate ties to the history of this franchise. It seems like there's a bit of messiness in the breakup between himself and the Ravens. And then you look at the Cleveland Browns, there's no matter how bad last season was, no matter how, disappointing it was to finish with only 5 wins, like, this is a team that's better than the Giants. This is a team that's in a better situation than the Titans, except for maybe, because of Cam Ward. Cam Ward might tip the scales a little bit, but like, if you go team for team, position for position, Browns versus Titans, quarterback might be the only, key position that you're willing to swap on. And take the Titans over. Like, obviously Cam Ward's better than anything the Browns have right now, but, the Browns have a better defense. The Browns have, probably a better long-term running back room. I just think that there's more, and Andrew Berry's already talked about committing heavily to the offense this offseason and trying to improve that side of the ball significantly. I just think there's more to this Browns team than the national media is giving credit towards. I think there's more pluses for this coaching job than what people are making it out to be. And if I'm John Harbaugh, this is clearly my pitch to John Harbaugh, I look at the Cleveland Browns and I think it's my best shot to not only get back at the Ravens, but to make it quickly to the playoffs. And, if you're the Cleveland Browns, this is a coach who is a perennial winner. He's been to the playoffs, way more times than is even comprehensible to most, young Browns fans. This is a guy who can immediately reset your culture and help you turn into a competent franchise. If you have a chance to get him in your building, you have to basically kidnap him. You cannot let him leave. And, I have faith that if Jimmy Haslam can get John Harbaugh into the building and can start throwing money bags at him, the Browns will do that. They will do everything in their power to make him the next head coach of this franchise, because that is a legitimate franchise-changing hire if you can make it come to fruition. John Harbaugh right now has to be the top priority, the highest priority you can possibly give him. I mean, I basically look at it as like an Andy Reid, because you remember how horrific the Chiefs were before Andy Reid stepped in. Romeo Crennel, they were going 2-14, and then Andy Reid shows up and they take a step out of that, horrific play. They become competent. They become a playoff team. They have Alex Smith. They're a good, they stabilize the franchise. And then you get Patrick Mahomes. Then you have the shot to, go and win Super Bowls. And I just think that John Harbaugh can bring that sort of stabilizing nature to this franchise. Yes, he's been, your arch rival coach for the last 2 decades. But if you can get him in your building and give him and get your shot to pitch the Cleveland Browns as his next coaching destination, you have to hit it out of the park. You have to seal the deal. The Browns have got to do all that's, physically possibly in their power to make John Harbaugh their next head coach. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of John Harbaugh as an option for the Cleveland Browns? Would you like to see him become the next head coach? Thank you for listening to the Mason Talk Sports Show. I will see you in my next episode. Goodbye.